Hey, welcome back to the Alternative Perspectives podcast. I'm Nalo, your podcast host. And today we have a special guest on the inside, producer, DJ, and we're going to find out all the other things. Singer. Oh, yes, singer as well. Artist. Angelo. Angelo, your last name is Pantin?
It is.
Yes,
it
I
is.
mean, I know it as Angelo Pantin, but I know people that change up the name and things.
No.
You know?
That's my legitimate last name. Angelo is actually not my first name, but
Okay.
that is not for this podcast. Angelo is on my birth certificate. It's my middle name, so we'll
Okay.
just leave it at that.
All right.
It's a legal name. I didn't just adopt the name. I was given it at birth, so yeah.
Okay. But Pantin is a real big name, though. Yeah.
It is, and yet, other than the few who I met, I have no idea who I'm related to be honest.
Okay.
Like, my father's side of my family wasn't as close as my mom's side, so I don't know as many of the Pantins as I should, I guess. But yeah,
But you know if you're related to Ian Pantin?
clueless.
Okay, but you know who's Ian Pantin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody know IP promotions.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, once
Everybody should know.
Yeah, once you're in the industry. No,
Yeah.
I've met people in the industry who don't. I mean, and which is one of the things with the industry today. They have a lot of young people who don't know anything about the people who came before them.
True.
Right? Which is that is for later on.
That reminds me of something for off camera. Like, remind me how that joke together. Go ahead, though.
Right? And you know, I'm gonna inform the listeners of one of your, I would say, hugest accomplishments to me, which was the Studio 53 Days, which was the
Right.
local reggae era. One of the main producers in that time, right? But let's go further back. Where you grew up, where you were born, that kind of thing.
I was born in Port of Spain General Hospital. But my family grew up in La Hocata.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would have been phase 2 La Hocata. The area was tough. Yeah, it had some little violent people from...
Serious.
Yeah.
Well, they used to say phase 1 and phase 2 were the trouble phases.
Phase 1, phase 2, phase 7.
7, okay.
Since I was coming up, those were the phases I knew that had all the troublemakers. And much as that was the case, because I live so far out of it, because my house is like to the front of phase 2, and I really mix or mingle much with people. Apart from that, I did freight cut as bad. So when mommy say inside by 6, yeah, it's inside by 6.
Okay. So that parenting structure is what kept you in line.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say strict, but it wasn't pushover parents.
Right.
And I grew up in a 2-parent home up until the age of 11 when my father passed away. So it wasn't really a broken home.
Okay.
You know? But yeah, we had structure, we had rules, we had authority figures apart from just, you know, being provided for and the love and such and such. It wasn't just a matter of being spoiled.
Right.
You know? It was a matter of having order.
All right. So, I mean, as we on the line of parenting, because I wanted to talk about that aspect of things a bit lower down, but we'll jump into it now. I mean, I think it's one of the most pressing issues right now where we're seeing, you know, seeing men out here killing women, and all these things, right? And my thing is, I think, in my opinion, is poor parenting and lack of parenting skills. Because I think there are some people who are trying, but they really don't know what to do.
Yeah.
What's your take on what's going on now in terms of parenting? What you're seeing around?
I honestly believe you're 100% right in terms of parenting and the different versions of it being a major issue. And here's why. Personal experience I had, like, not so long ago. I was in Grandy with a friend. And a man was dealing with his son. His son looked like he could have been about 4 or 5 years old at most, right? And whatever the situation was, his son was going to cry. And he thought it best to say to this little boy, how would you be a man if you cry? Don't cry. Such and such. And I wouldn't lie, my blood boiled.
Okay.
My blood boiled. I've never had that experience with my father.
Okay. He allowed you to cry.
Every Trini grew up with What are you crying for? Cry for something. Aspect getting a cut.
You may get something to cry for.
Right? But not the okay, I punish you aspect. I mean I have an emotional experience as a child, and I'm not allowed to process whatever emotions come along with that experience. I've not had that experience being brought up by my parents.
Okay.
So seeing him do that to his child and understanding the fact that men are continuously, what's the word I want to use, bombarded with that perspective, and as a result grow up emotionally handicapped.
Right. With a lot of pent-up anger, because of course when you're unable to express emotions, you know how
you can't process.
Exactly. You can't process it. It turns into something heated.
Yep.
Right. Now, as they call that toxic masculinity.
Exactly.
Right. Which is a real problem. Now, I was in the grocery Friday, quite recently, and Tuesday or Friday, one of those days, and there was a little girl with her mother in the grocery, and the little girl was asking her mother for something, or she's trying to talk to the mother, and a young mother, pretty to her, right, and the little girl was talking a little soft now,
right,
and the mother started to loud up the little girl, talk louder than that. It is making us a noise home. Why? No, and I was like, Jesus Lord. The thing is, and it's because she don't understand. She is unable to understand that, okay, the child is in a different environment, so the child will behave differently.
Exactly.
And it's until they get older and they come out often and they socialize differently, then they would be brave outside, but she's just not brave.
But apart from that, right, most parents would be more comfortable having children that are soft-spoken in public.
Right.
Because sometimes kids could say some kind of embarrassing things, right? And it'll have you like caught off guard. Sometimes they're being free with their expression, you know? And it's not that what they say is wrong or anything, but just as an adult in a particular space, it would be a bit awkward for the volume that they might want to express themselves at. And, you know, some parents would be happy to not have to deal with that, you know, in comparison to her taking that perspective and choosing to deal with the situation in that manner. And again, it comes down to parenting, because she had to have some sort of example that made her think dealing with that situation was okay and in that manner.
Exactly. And I think now you have scared the child and put the child in an even worse position than, right?
Forced her in the shell.
Exactly. And I mean, there are different ways that this child could come up now and react based on that. So we're looking at the situation where we just lost more than two young ladies, but popularly, right? Because, I mean, now, and I mean, this is a very ticklish situation to discuss, but the thing is, I am not one of the people who try to advocate stop violence against women. Reason being, stop violence on the whole. Right? Listen, because I think if you stop violence against everybody, then women will benefit as well.
Right.
Because based on the statistics, I think I read yesterday, is that 11% of the people who are murdered are women, right?
Right.
So basically, if we stop it on the whole, then the whole figure will decrease.
I understand.
Right? But based on what we have seen going on there, most recently, how do you think we could limit that, change that, fix that? And it's something you had to think about because you have a daughter yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I have thoughts on this topic. I've expressed them a number of times. And I'll try to, what's the word I want to use here? I'll try to compact my perspective on it. The same way that self-hatred was beaten into and programmed into African people who were enslaved is the same way that self-love needs to be impressed on generation after generation. It's not going to change overnight. It's not going to change within 10 to 50 years because we already have a generation misguided.
Right.
This is something that may take roughly 100 years of consistent, proactive effort
No.
to change.
Can I interject there though?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very difficult for us to even promote self-love in this time where in the era of social media where everything is so polarized and everything is is a battle and a war.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? We and I don't even want to say we, but people are on social media now trying to make you feel stupid. They go out of their way instead of correcting you.
Yeah.
Right? They go out of their way to make you feel stupid and make you feel like less of a person.
Yep.
So
for making mistakes.
Exactly.
And everybody make mistakes. Not everybody is on the same intelligence level.
Mm-hmm.
And some people tend to overlook that. And they tend to have a very shallow mindset in terms of things like that. Like, because social media gives you the freedom to express yourself, be it extremely positive, extremely negative, regardless, with a rough level of autonomy, right? Or impunity, if you want to use that word. People tend to be less careful with other people's feelings, you know?
Very much
They don't give others the same consideration they themselves would want. And I see people getting into word wars with other people all the time now, though.
Well, the thing is, I have seen, some of your posts, and which is one of the reasons. I mean, we know each other a while now, and I saw some of your posts on social media, like, I need Angelo on the podcast, because Angelo, he has some very strong perspectives, and I would see you go up against people in terms of, some people will make a comment or make a post something, and you would be like, no, well, look at it like this.
Yeah.
And they would, nah. And I would be like, wow.
If I express myself and you can't see it how I see it, then that's you. That's who you are. As long as your perspective isn't becoming an imposition on my right to have my perspective as well, then why do we have to argue? Why do we have to have anger or enmity or bitterness? It's pointless.
Right.
Like I always say, disagreement don't have to mean argument. It don't have to mean disrespect either.
Exactly.
Right? And like you said, on numerous occasions, like, people just get beside themselves. Like, a time I made a post that was deliberately full of colloquialisms, right? It was straight up, as we would call it, ghetto speak. Right? And someone assumed that I said what I said, how I said, because I lacked the intelligence to express myself differently. Make matters worse, they attempted to correct me, and they themselves weren't that articulate.
Right.
So I watched as a few of the people on my profile kind of got on them about it, and I dismissed it. Like, I dismissed it slowly. It reached to the point where the person started to talk about my mother, and I found that was funny.
Wow.
No, I found it was funny because it was proof of a lack of intelligence, and I was like, where did that even come from? You trying to correct somebody for being what you perceive as stupid, but the expanse of your intelligence is to reach to insulting my mother, who has absolutely nothing to do
with the conversation. Well, I mean, I for me right now, I try not to comment on much stuff on Facebook, again, because I realize that the level of conversation you could have with people on Facebook is very, very minute. It's the lowest level of conversation. And
that's why I post mostly bullshit these days.
Right. And
I don't get serious too often. Much as I have a lot of opinions about a lot of serious things, I avoid it. I rather have conversations like that with open-minded people, even though putting information out there for closed-minded people to encounter, or somewhat closed-minded people, or just ignorant people to encounter, might be of benefit to them at some point. I'm not saying that I'm the world's smartest person, but at the end of the day, I have seen people that could benefit from some of what I know.
Mm-hmm.
I see it on a daily basis. I'm not saying I'm the most well-rounded or the most mentally sound person,
Mm-hmm.
but still, if I could have a discussion with somebody and disagree and not totally lose my shit, how I see things has to have some kind of merit.
And I think we just need people, and this is the purpose of the podcast, to get people to just understand that there are different perspectives.
Exactly.
And sometimes you are unable to see somebody else's perspective right now because of what you've been through or what you're going through. But then when things change, you'll be like, wow, what that person was saying made complete sense because your circumstance might have changed. Your experiences might have changed.
I will quote myself and say perception is perspective, is the distance between two minds in the same situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Complete sense. Right? And so back to, we were talking about trying to fix the situation. So we realized that hoping to inculcate this loving, inward loving mindset will be nearly almost impossible to achieve. Especially today I did a recording that I'll probably post sometime later on because my little daughter kidnaps my laptop to play game, right? And there's the laptop with the power, right, to do editing and whatnot.
Have the power for gaming, logic.
Exactly, yeah. So, and in that what I was saying is that, listen, as much as we want to shout and cry, stop kill women, stop whatever, it's the same way we tell people don't drink and drive and obey the speed limit because the possibility of crashing is higher if you're driving over a particular speed or crashing and getting damaged or probably die.
Hurting someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But people still don't stop because at the end of the day, there will always be a percentage of people who would be different, who would be, whether you call it weird or call it whatever it may be. There are going to be a percentage of people who just won't go with the, if you want to say, the flow.
Status quo.
Or the status quo. So in a situation like that, even if we get people to start loving themselves, they're going to have the few who will never love themselves, no matter their situation, their circumstance will never permit it. How do you think we start dealing with that? And of course, we have the police aspect of it. But I will give you my suggestion is I think we need a stronger social services system in the country. I mean, of course, it's Trinidad, so anything we do, we still ain't going to do it good. But hey, listen, we could try.
I know what you mean.
So in terms of when a child comes to school and according to the conversation the child is trying to have with the teacher in the classroom, we send some people home to check out his home situation, check his living situation, her living situation, and see what's going on. And if the child needs to be removed or if they need to give them some warnings. That's my opinion. I don't know how you feel about it.
It could help. It could help. The thing is, without people being constantly monitored, there is no telling what they could hide.
Right.
There's no telling what they could hide. And some parents have a habit of intimidating their children into lying. Right? Where they would be able to pressure this child into denying whatever in front of these social workers. I mean, there are some really messed up people out here. That's why I was saying it wouldn't take overnight. It wouldn't be next 50 years. It might take about 100 years. Like a whole new era of people had to be born and loved the right way and just make their own little people and love them the right way. Like, that's the only way. You have to literally breed that out of society.
I understand.
That's the way I see it possible. And yet still, we have a wealth of information and misinformation available on social media, like you said rightly, right? So someone would still be able to dig up some old video of someone being an absolute idiot, expressing a perspective that has no value to our society, and they would find something agreeable in it. Because it's possible.
Right.
It's not impossible. They may just find it suits whatever jealous motive might be in their mind at the time. And free will.
Exactly.
With it.
It could be chaotic.
Yeah.
No, which is what leads me to. Of course, we live in a democratic society, a democratic state, somewhat, right?
Yeah.
That's what they call
whole
it,
next podcast.
right? But I think you tend to see in countries where they have more of a communist mindset or communist state, they seem to be having things more under control. And I'm not saying that we should go to that. I'm just saying.
Well, the thing is, Western media calls it communism, right? And just today, I was having a conversation with my baba about the same thing. And we were talking about Muammar Gaddafi, Vladimir Putin, Robert Mugabe, Castro, Chavez, Guevara, all of these people who were demonized by Western media, right? And I told him, I said, one of the things I always ask people, right? For all the embargoes placed against Cuba, for all the communist and dictator they called Fidel Castro, which country he invaded in the 50 years he ruled Cuba?
None.
He had allies that were enemies of the US. Vladimir Putin, Muammar Gaddafi, Robert Mugabe, Hugo Chavez, right? And he was basically blacklisted for not giving in to westernization and not allowing the US government to take control of Cuba. Cuba shares an island with who? Puerto Rico?
They share or they have the... No, I think they have the whole island. They have their own island.
So then
they might be close to Puerto Rico. They're close to Puerto Rico.
To me, is who it has two.
That is Dominican Republic and Haiti share one island.
Puerto Rico and somebody doesn't share.
I'm not too sure, but Cuba very close to Puerto Rico, but they don't share. Cuba have they have the whole.
I thought they did. But it has a lot of other Caribbean islands that are, even though they were conquered by the Spanish, right? Well, invaded by the Spanish, and socially reformatted by the Spanish. Right? These are the appropriate words. I mean, the history books make it seem like it was something so glorious and something so
they say
so right, but it was brutal as hell and it was wrong.
They say the person when the war is who writes history, you know.
Exactly. But we have the freedom to think. We have the freedom to think. And all of the information that they give us, regardless of how they package it, says the same thing. It was wrong. It was brutal. Much as it was legal. I had same conversation recently. I had that conversation with somebody about slavery being legal, apartheid being legal versus being right. Legal isn't always right.
Right.
And wrong isn't always, well, legal isn't always. Illegal isn't always wrong.
Right. So it have legal and illegal and moral and immoral.
Exactly. Right? And when you think about it, right? Castro had a socialist perspective, right? Not capitalist.
Right.
He decided that it shouldn't have a bias of wealth among the public. It shouldn't have 5 cars in one yard while one person has to walk. It shouldn't have homes without food while one person has a lavish spread that they're going to waste. These were things that he saw as social injustices because these were elements of capitalism, right? People being able to hoard wealth. And some would say that it was unfair to the people who earned as much as they did, but isn't poverty unfair?
Which is what brings me to this point. I believe the problem in Trinidad and Tobago concerning crime and poor parenting significantly is because of capitalism.
Yes.
I think
is a major catalyst.
Yeah, I think that is one of the biggest things. Some parents can't afford to stay home and be with their children. They can't afford to hear their children issues because they have a lot of issues. They can't afford to pay bills.
Stuck. 12 hours
Mm-hmm.
out of a 24-hour day, right? You spend 2 commuting to work. You spend 8 hours at work.
8 or 9, because you must know a lot of companies, you work 8 hours, but they don't pay you for your lunch
For
hour.
lunch hour,
So
yeah.
they make you
work back that extra
Yeah,
hour.
right? Yeah.
And you spend 2 more hours commuting back home, roughly,
Mhm.
right? And then you're expected to get 8 hours of sleep,
Mhm.
right? So after you spend time in transit, time in employment, time in transit again, when you get home and you're expected to get 8 out of 12, you have basically 4 hours to live
Mhm.
every day. 3 to 4 hours to live.
And if you don't have the money to give your children money to go to school and buy stuff,
Yeah.
and for you to buy lunch, you have to come home and cook,
Yes.
probably clean, and when you finish
Depending
cooking,
on the age of your kids as well.
Exactly.
Because if they can't help you or themselves, then you are stuck in that provider slash caregiver slash maid is a
Teacher.
all around role. You
Mhm.
know? So yeah.
So that's what I was saying. I don't know if you look at some of these countries and you check their crime situation, it
Yeah.
seems to be better than ours. Now, okay, Venezuela a little while. Not all of them have it
That bad, yeah.
done good. I mean, Dubai and these places, they seem to be doing pretty well, and it's basically the same kind of quote-unquote communist concept.
Listen, any country that is not putting themselves in billions of dollars in debt are countries that are going to become targets by Western media.
Mm-hmm.
I would not say more, but you know what I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
right? If they aren't willing to allow themselves to be westernized and forego their own adherence to their culture, their way of life, then at some point they're going to need some democracy,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. They're going to need some democracy, god damn it, so to speak. So here now, being an oil country, being fully westernized, we have little to no say unless we detach. By detach, I mean totally withdraw from society.
Mm-hmm.
It might sound extreme, but as long as you have a foot in the water, you're still getting wet.
Right. Actually, I tell you, I really think about trying to fix it. There was a point in time where I believed, I think we need to go back and bow to the Queen, right? I think we need to go to the Queen and say we're sorry and we want to come back home. Take us back, please. Right? People might think it's stupid,
No,
but
it's still capitalism.
I know,
Regardless of monarchy versus democracy, it's still
Right.
capitalism.
No, I know, but why I say I felt that way before, that was because there's nobody to guard the guards, or there's nobody to lead the leaders in this country,
True.
right? And I think that is, at one point, I thought that is what we needed. I mean, we still need that. But
question, are you aware of the magnitude of the Queen's power and autonomy and impunity? So you know that she could never go on trial for anything. She
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Nobody can question her wealth. Nobody can question her actions. I honestly
You're not comfortable with that?
No.
No. As I say, I felt that way at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel that way now necessarily.
Right.
But obviously, I still have the qualms in terms of
Somebody needing to be an authority figure over the authority figures.
Yeah. I think, and all this is why, crime is where it is and things are how they are here.
Corruption.
It's corruption. And, I mean, it's alleged, right? That that Andrea Barrett came across some documents,
Files, yeah.
right, while working in the court.
From what I read in the article, it was a document that showed one of the deeds that was presented by a bailiff was already involved in another case, and
Right.
it should not have been eligible for use in a case with someone who was up for bail here. Right? And she presented it to her seniors, and well, we know how that ended, sadly.
Right. As I say, corruption. And you would find different degrees of corruption all across the board. Now, and once these guys know that if they do a thing and meet up a lawyer and whoever work at the corruption, whether they work the corruption with deeds or whatever, or bail hearings for them to come out.
Yeah.
These are the things, and at the end of the day, these are people in some of the highest offices that you see this level of corruption.
Yeah.
So how do we fix what is going on here now without having an external body coming to intervene?
We come right back to the existence of free will. If people who are allowed into positions of power have a choice to be bad or good, we will always have that problem.
Right.
And at present, it may have ways around it, but it's a bit far-fetched. Nonetheless, right? Things like random polygraph testing.
Right.
Like, seriously. But then, again, the line of questioning. Like, I remember an instance with a certain politician, I shall not call his name. He was on trial for money that was allegedly embezzled. And within the line of questioning, they asked him about the wrong currency, and he could have lied on a polygraph, and nobody would have been any wiser because it's the wrong question.
Right.
So it still comes down to human decision.
And exactly, because first, for them to put something like that in place, it has to go through the parliament, and these people will say, no.
No, definitely not.
No.
Dude, they revolt. Sorry, not they. Part of the House of Representatives, right, revolted against an anti-gang bill. That's all I have to say.
No, but here's the funny thing in this, right? And it's unfortunate, but it's all plain politics. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Because the anti-gang bill the first time the anti-gang bill came in might be a little different, but basically the same bill was under the PP, which is UN, when UNC and COP and them came together, right? And then it had a sunset clause, so it ended.
Right.
And then PNM came in power, and then PNM
tried to reintroduce it.
And then they said no. And these were the same people who put it in place the first time.
Yeah.
So they all play politics, obviously, with the citizenry. This is what I say. So how do you deal with that? Because all the politicians are playing. It's like almost impossible for us to try to fix the situation here.
See, even if we have situations like in some countries where they drag politicians out of the parliaments and offices and so on and slaughter them for being corrupt, even if we have situations like that, who is to guarantee that the replacement will be any better? Or will not just pretend to be better? Who's to guarantee that?
Which leads me to this though. You remember in Grenada, they killed the Grenadian Prime Minister some years ago. Right?
That's not funny, Angelo. Do laugh. Do not laugh.
Right?
Just now. I have no knowledge of this.
Yeah, that's when they had when America came in and whatnot, right?
Whoa.
And now, the thing is, people will give you...
I shouldn't be laughing.
People will give it different perspectives to that. No, the thing is, there was one set of people who believed that Prime Minister was corrupt and was only doing things to benefit a certain set of people. Right? And they basically had a coup, if you want to call it that, and they ended up killing the Prime Minister. Right? No, in Grenada, no Prime Minister. Display matter, no. No.
Right, so it's like you make an example.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to suggest something earlier, right? When you asked about curtailing violence, so on and so forth, right? I have been saying for years, as long as it is proven beyond reasonable doubt, rape should be a crime that's punishable by capital punishment.
Right.
Meaning rapists should die.
I believe
Pedophiles
that. I believe that
should die.
I believe in that totally. Let me tell you why. I think rape is worse than murder. Because force somebody to live their entire lives with that pain.
I might as well be saying exactly what you're saying, because exactly what you're saying is exactly what I said to someone yesterday.
Yeah.
I told them, I said, murder final. You kill someone, they're dead. Unless of course you torture them,
right,
and you draw the process of their death. When you kill somebody, it is over. But when you rape somebody, you violate that person like that, and you, like you said, force them to live with that trauma and relive that trauma. It has nothing that could be worse than that. It has. I can't think of anything worse than that.
Right. And I mean, I'm gonna put this out there, and okay, people probably wouldn't know because I would have had many girlfriends in my life. I had a ex-girlfriend who was a victim of rape.
Right.
And I could tell you, Angelo, sleeping with this girl every night while we were asleep, she would jump in her sleep and start to shake every night. You understand what I'm saying? So this person is going through this trauma continuously. You understand what I'm saying? So probably that's my bias to think that, hey, they should die because of that experience. They
should, but the thing is, it have boys who go through it too.
Right.
It have boys who go through it from... I remember recently someone was telling me that an Anglican priest, right, leader of a church, was molesting one of the altar boys, and the altar boy came forward and they silenced him and say how he could say that about the priest, such and such, and expel the boy from the church.
Right. Well, those things go on. I mean, in different religions, but...
Right. Yeah. But still, situations like that, boys experience it too. It may not be as frequent as girls, but a lot of women live with it in silence because...
And if you think women live with it, then the men will live even more because there's more shame in it.
Yes, because at the end of the day, how do I put this? When going through the experience, right, you have your mind that's going through the experience, and you have your body that's going through the experience, right? I know women that were raped, and they would tell you sometimes their body would respond the way it should respond if it was a consensual situation, despite the fact that their mind is being tortured now. Right?
I've read things on that, and even with men, they say,
and
because
this I'm getting, it has no saying that men don't have the same experience.
Right,
you know?
Because I was reading something with men being raped from women, right?
Yeah.
Or by women.
Yeah.
And they were saying that there's an aspect of your body that is involuntary now.
Yes.
So even though you're not mentally aroused, things start to react the way it should react in those situations, which leads to a different amount of a shame.
Yeah.
On
and
you as
psychological trauma, because I mean, on one hand you feel betrayed by your body, like almost every time that you get turned on, you just have this feeling or memory corrupting whatever you feel physically. It is not an easy thing to deal with. It's not an easy thing to deal with. And for that reason and that reason only, I agree with the death penalty being levied to rapists and pedophiles.
No,
they take away a person's choice.
Exactly. And I mean, you mess this person's life up, because if you check as well, statistics show a good percentage of people who commit suicide will
rape victims,
right? So I think, and probably if you kill the person, that person might feel a bit better.
Yes,
they might.
Yes,
they might
because relief.
Exactly.
I mean, why is rape even a bailable offense? Like, how is that? How does that make sense?
Well, the thing is, I guess that part of it though is where it gets interesting, because remember, you'll get bail when you just get charged until you go through the process of being convicted.
So accusation versus conviction.
Right.
No.
Right. No. When you say no, because I also discussed this in the last video.
Right.
No, I was accused by a girl, not for rape though. Right. Thank God. But she accused me of harassing her. Right. And all it was a bitter ex. We broke up a few months after.
Right.
We spoke again. We spoke again for a little bit, and then she asked me to get back with her if I
Right.
would have gotten back with her. And I told her no. I was with somebody else at the point in time.
Right.
But it's the first time I ever told her no in getting back with her. Every time we broke up and I went with somebody else, she would come
Yeah.
back and I would leave the person I was with to go
Right.
back with her. And this time I said no. And that, for whatever reason.
Yeah, but one thing popped in my head just now. That thing there is good. Pressure. Anyway.
And yeah, and home girl tripped with that one and went and tell the police that I am harassing her. Right? So I was like, okay. The police called my phone, obviously, and there's a first warning, next warning, it could be next time it could be lock up or whatever thing. So I was on the phone, I was real confused. Then I put on and pick back up the phone and call back the police station and blow the policeman like,
Yeah.
yo, you crazy or what?
No investigation at all. They just call you and threatening with arrest and such and such.
So
the first thing they're supposed to do is ask her for her phone records to prove that you
exactly
was harassing her. Much as, yes, harassment is a serious allegation, right? Is why they have to take it so seriously and go that far. The first thing they're supposed to say is, okay, I need your phone records. Such and such. Even if they have to put a police detail outside of her place for the duration, and they are waiting for the phone records, and by the time they ask for the phone records, she'll have done realize.
Exactly,
okay,
it's serious.
This
so
shit
forget
serious.
that.
I need to leave. And I mean, they can't just take up of themselves. No investigation at all. Just on somebody's hearsay. I come and tell you now, Loberg. A man now hit me a slap and my face not swollen, right? I tell you I got robbed, I have money in my wallet, so my wallet's in my pocket. You didn't even ask me, well, which part you robbed, whatever the case is. You just say, here we go. And both of us jump in the car, go and looking for somebody and beat the shit out of them. Right? You don't know this person from anywhere. You just take up my rage just because I said so. Right?
And that's the point I'm making now. In this situation, she made that allegation.
Right.
And I remember I called the policeman to go to the station the next day to discuss whatever. When I went to the station, he wasn't there. I was like, okay, whatever, no scene, he didn't come out the day. I had a booking to play in Grenada, so I went Grenada to play, and I came back. And as soon as I came back, and I landed and I put on the stuff on my phone, I saw messages from the policeman. Right? Text messages, things, whatever, then I discuss whatever. Went home from the airport, got my mom. And went down in the station. But in the time before I got to meet with him, I got phone records, my phone records, right? And I took it to the station, and I showed him. I said, "Look my phone records here." And I said, "Matter of fact, look her phone number here, right? This is where I call her here." And I said, "We were on the phone for an hour and 20 minutes." I said, so if we were on the phone for an hour and 20 minutes, was she saying, come off the phone, come off the phone, come off the phone, come off the phone? You're harassing me for an hour
and 20 minutes.
Which was about 2 or 3 days before she made the accusation. Right? So I was like, come now, man. And then she said we broke up whatever time and however long. So my mother was there and I had to bring my mother into the station, but into the little room. And I say, the car going to ask my mother in front of you. I say, when did this girl move out from by us? My mother gave him
the information.
He walked back. I say, and then my mother went on to say, but two all went to Tobago together, just so and so. So I say, yeah, true. Pull my phone, show him pictures. Right?
Obviously, you'll be able to see the date on the picture because it's coded.
Right? So he say, okay, thanks, ma'am. Whatever, she went back outside. And then he say, well, yo, listen, you're going on that girl clearly looking for bacchanal, whatever. Right? Just stay away, don't want to tell girl. Whatever, cool, nothing. But there's my point. In situations where
false accusations
come in, right? Do we even have rape kits in Trinidad? Do we have proper DNA testing that if somebody come and say today that somebody raped me yesterday, that he could go and pull and swab to see if they have DNA?
On the topic of DNA testing, it's not until 2 years ago, I believe, that DNA evidence was admissible into courts in Trinidad and Tobago. But which is absolute nonsense. More so, video evidence is inadmissible without a confession from the accused or an eyewitness who was present to confirm that that's the person that they saw at that location. It may not be that they saw them doing whatever, but that they saw them there.
Right.
So that they can't deny being there.
Right. You see?
Or else video evidence inadmissible. You could be on somebody
which we have
on
seen.
camera.
Which we have seen.
Face bare, everything. And as long as you see, no, that's not me. I wasn't there. And you have an alibi, someone else that could place you somewhere else, they can't use the video evidence. That's how it is here.
So this is what I'm saying. That's why I'm very cautious with
with the bail factor.
With the bail factor, as they said earlier on, if there is, you could prove
beyond reasonable doubt,
right? Then okay, hold them.
But
also,
the justice system itself is so slow.
Right, I agree. Also, what I would like to add, you can't get charged for the same thing 3 and 4 times, and then you're still getting bail.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, because, oh gosh, so everybody think you are a rapist? I could understand one girl thinks and working out with you and one girl and she decided to play mad and say you're a rapist. Okay.
Right.
And I shouldn't say I could understand, but, right? But,
it is known to have happened.
Right. But you can't tell me 2 and 3 and 4 people. Nah.
Yeah.
At some point, we had a hole,
And question whether or not this is true.
Right? And now, I don't know what we could do to fix the justice system in terms of time. I think, and I said in my video earlier, one of the things I think, you see the decriminalization of marijuana here, I think was stupid. I think they just legalized it and done. Because now you still want to carry a man who has 7 trees instead of 4. And you understand what I'm saying? You still have to carry that in court. And,
right.
And
no, I agree. And reason being, I think it still needs to have some sort of cap on it, right? But the proper infrastructure was not put in place. That was done as a hype and as a
votes.
Yes, as a hype and as a mean of how to say extrapolating votes from the public, right? Now, when you look at what would be necessary, right, to really put a proper handle on things, you're talking about people who are being, not who are being, but people who are planting, right, in mass amounts. If you're going to decriminalize something, or whatever the case is, you should give these people farmer's license. You understand? You go, you assess their crops, you evaluate it, such and such. You see them a license to plant. They are only allowed to sell their products to retailers, authorized retailers, right? Who also have to have a license, right? People who want to purchase from these people, you're allowed to purchase within a certain amount during a period of time. If they have the 30 grams factor here, right, with the decriminalization as what you're allowed to carry on a person, that's roughly 1 ounce, right? Or a little under. Right? You have that factor in place, okay. People are not allowed to purchase more than that amount within the period of, let's say, 2 days, average. Right?
You think you need to put restriction in place at the amount of days though? I mean, if you take a youngster and smoke it out till they come tomorrow.
True.
Because I know people that people
who does smoke a whole ounce.
Nah, because like real people don't smoke by themselves. No, people don't smoke weed by themselves.
That's true.
So
well, it have some.
Alright, yeah. But plenty of people I know, a man will go and buy ounce and everybody will gather and they will smoke and
with friends.
And when they're done, the ounce done and they're going to buy more. You understand? So
I understand that. I understand that as well. But fact of the matter is, right? If someone is allowed to purchase beyond a certain amount, it means that, it could be suspicious for the sake of trafficking.
Right.
So if you put a gap in between it, like every other day or whatever the case is, right? It may help or give the appearance of,
But you think who they trafficking into? Because everybody could just go and buy.
No, well, the thing is, it'll still have people who are going to find it too difficult to make their way to a legal cafe. You understand? It's still going to have people who find that too difficult. It's still going to have people who will see their neighbor has trees and they don't have any and they'll still say, well, buy a little thing off of you now. You understand? That grade coming up good, but real pods are waiting for it. When a dry thing, such as it's going to happen because people are allowed to plant it at home. right? They'll have the ones who don't have situations that allow them to, but nonetheless, it still comes down to proper infrastructure for the government to actually benefit, the state to benefit, the country to benefit, right? I'm trying to remember which state it was. Not Chicago.
Not the first state who went ahead with it, right? Not Colorado.
It's
Colorado was the first one that jumped out and started to make all the big money.
Yes, and they paid off a shitload of debt within like 2 or 3 weeks' time because of the legalization of it and certain things being put in place. They have a system in place. You understand? We just decided, okay, well, we need these Rasta and them to come out and vote. So we say,
well, you were talking about benefit, right? Listen, and I think you know this though. The only benefit any political party or any government cares about in Trinidad and Tobago is votes.
True.
They don't care about financial benefit, or else they would have never allowed Petrogen to reach the stated region before it even closed down.
Yeah.
They don't care about the benefit of anything though. They could,
of course not.
Right? They don't even care about benefiting from taxes.
And like you said, well, actually, taxes is for the purpose of oppression. But nonetheless, like you said, they care about the benefit of votes. That's what they care about. Reason being, when they get voted in, they have control over $300 billion US for the next 5 years. That's basically it.
And to benefit themselves. Not
yes, we as the public don't see that. We see that what we vote, we want a road fix, we want free education, we want free health care, we want certain things to continue, we want the gas prices to stay low because these are the problems that are on our nose. A lot of us can't see beyond our own nose or our own shoe tips.
I'm telling you, it's the funniest thing about Trinidad and Tobago. It's the funniest thing in the world, right? Listen, the 3 things we spend the most money on in the budget is education, healthcare, national security, right?
Right.
If this money is being used properly with proper education,
right,
you spend less money in healthcare and less money
on
in national security.
Crime, yeah.
But I don't know what we're doing.
No, well, you see, free education doesn't mean shit if people aren't being taught the right things.
That's it. If they spend money properly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I want to jump into this before we even go too deep into that rabbit hole of politics and whatnot. And as we touch on education, education, indoctrination, all these things.
Yes.
Right? Now, we currently have a generation who, what they're being taught now is zest culture. They're being taught to shoot off your head, all my dogs, them murderers. I really don't know much of these songs, I'm being honest with you. When it started to come in, I was like, hey, I went to the management in CNMG/TTT and I let them know, listen, I could no longer, I mean, it had other reasons. I went to a party and I played some gunman tune. I had real argument. I mean, you know that, right? I'm a person.
You will appeal to your demographic.
Right, and I do what I had to do, right? And after busting some serious gunman argument and thing, and I come off the stage, you know, 2 men greet me in the crowd. Well, more people greet me, but 2 particular people greet me and, you know, show me real love. And one show me he have a gun in his waist. You see if anybody violates. And the next one show me he have a gun in a hand, in a side bag. Yeah. And the next side of the party. And then in walking out to that party, I said to myself, Nalo, this is not the lifestyle you just live. And you are gassing people.
Who do live that lifestyle.
Right. So, nah.
You're giving them validation with the music.
Right.
Literally.
So I can't do that anymore. I went to the management of the radio part and HR, and I let them know, listen, I'm about to get married. I have 2 young daughters. I no longer want to play this type of music.
Right.
They have other radio stations there. I prefer to work on one of the radio stations, which I was doing a lot of boat rides and things for. Right. That was my baby. So we playing the music on the boat ride. I am playing on the boat ride as well, promoting the boat ride. I creating the ads, writing the scripts, everything. So I know how to connect with that demographic. Right. And the boat rides, they all sold out each time.
Right.
So I was like, listen, clearly I have something with this demographic, and I would like to move across into this, which is adult contemporary, right?
Right.
I would like to move across. And the person who was in charge of radio then, she said, nah,
Bruh.
you had to play that gunman music. Basically, you're not good enough to go, so you had to continue doing that. I remember writing an email saying, listen, if I'm not good enough, I think that says plenty about you more than it says about me.
Right.
Because
We had that conversation.
right? I worked under you for so long.
Yeah, so it's either incompetence on her behalf
Or victimization. Right? Nevertheless, right? Now, and my reason for that, as I said, tying it back to this, I understood the impact that music was having on the society.
Yeah.
And I realized that I did not want to deliver that anymore to the people, because I realized how much it would have mashed up the society.
How harmful it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
All right. I have a lot of opinions about this. I was, again, another conversation I was having very recently, right? Back in the day, it had violent music too. Back in the day, it had sexual music too, right? And the difference is that, one, the music itself was different. In that, case in point, you're a DJ, style algorithm. Over 100 songs on it, yes? Are they all about violence?
No.
Some of them are, yes?
Yeah. Some are violent.
Some are spiritual, some are love related, some are party related, yes? Off the top, I can name Tenor Saw, Ring the Alarm, I can name Barris Hammond, Do You Pray?
Right. You have Sizzler, Asnalo.
Right. So we're talking about music that was created with a diverse energy. People could interpret or project whatever energy they felt like projecting on it, right? Music now that's connected to violence is designed with negative tones, meaning that the chord progressions, the keys that they choose is mostly minor keys, so it has a darkness to it.
This is why I love having this conversation with you, because you're a producer, and being a producer, you could speak to those things.
And the music itself is created to invoke a particular energy, right? One of the people that basically pioneered that shift in dancehall music, many may not know this, is Stephen McGregor, aka The Genius.
Right.
When he started doing a lot of work with Movado and some of these other artists in Jamaica who were fueling their careers with a lot of violence-oriented songs, right? He used a lot of horror movie-type tones and chord progressions and such to give the music that darkness, that energy. I remember hearing a line in a song from Movado. I can't remember the song itself, but the line was, "Your mother thinks you're coming home, but you're not."
Right, yeah.
It has nothing...
Your mama thinks you're coming home, but you're not.
It has nothing profane in that line, but to the thought itself. If you don't have an ounce of empathy within yourself to feel sick when you hear that line, then you're missing something. You know? And I personally think that, like with every other genre, music projects energy. It projects the energy that the artist puts into it, right? And a lot of DJs have this standoffish and zero accountability attitude. But if you don't have the common sense to understand that as a public figure, as someone broadcasting on a public analog airwave, you have social responsibility, and that you are responsible for how you impact society with what you choose to endorse, then you're in the wrong field of work.
I agree, and as I say, for me, that's why that blew my mind, you know, because I was working on a government radio station, you know, and I was telling them, listen, I don't think there's the way, and I'm not trying to tell you to change your programming for me, but I would like the shift.
Other than when a particular radio announcer bad talk Patrick Manning, when has the government ever stepped in? When? telecommunications board is there like a sleeping dog.
Yeah.
Doing absolutely nothing while people keep playing music that is less and less edited on a daily basis. Words that are allowed on radio now wasn't even allowed in children's mouths when they were children back in my era. You understand? Songs like Ram Ram used to be on cassettes and people maxi. That couldn't have played on radio. Edited back in the day.
Listen, and I tell people, if you had a Walkman back in the day, or this one for people who might be a bit younger, with any of that kind of music on it, and your parents, right, happen to take this one headphone or that Walkman headphone and put it on and hear anything that was not supposed to be playing there. Yeah, nah. The Walkman mash up, the headphone mash up, and you mash up as well.
Yep. Facts.
No, we have parents playing this music at home.
Or while driving.
Yeah. Right?
The other morning, I went to get breakfast for my daughter. She was home. And I was walking back up the street. And a guy pulled up to the barber shop up the street from by me. Him and his 2 sons. And I was hearing I think it was a Jalano or some one of them songs. And level violence, level profanity. Max volume. And both his boys seemed to be under 14.
And they probably could sing it word for word.
And that was a Sunday morning, Naldo.
Yeah.
This is what our society deems as acceptable. The music itself now propels a message, a energy, right? And the lyrics gives life to that darkness, to that how to say, glorification of violence. You understand? I had a conversation with a radio presenter on 96.7 in the morning, right? They spent roughly 15 minutes, because I was in a maxi, they spent roughly 15 minutes playing a song from Idonia over and over and over, pulling it back, endorsing it, hyping it up, and it was an extremely violent song. Now, I messaged and I said, y'all are part of the problem. You're always quick to talk about against violence, this, that, the other, such and such, but you just spent all that time endorsing a song that promotes violence. And he was like, I wrong to say that, so on and so forth, because he used to listen to all kind of things as a kid and he didn't turn out that way and blah and blah and blah. And I wanted to have that conversation with him in person, because again, it comes down to social responsibility, right? When you are on a public airwave, right, you don't know who is listening unless they let you know they are listening. But still, you don't know who is in their presence. You understand? If my daughter was with me in that maxi that morning, she would have been hearing and exposed to everything that was going on the radio. So what am I, as a parent who choose not to deliberately expose my child to negative material, should do? Should I stop the maxi and come out and hope that the next maxi I get into isn't playing the same garbage, isn't listening to their program? Is that what I should do? Again, it comes down to the Sleeping Dog Telecommunications Board. Where are they to intervene, or even the Ministry of National Security? If they could have a youth rehabilitation program that is geared around music under the Ministry of National Security, then why is it can't be a matter of national security for the radio stations to not play music that endorses violence when we have such a ridiculous murder rate?
Which is my point here now. Now, this is my point with it. If things weren't the way they are now, pertaining to murder, these rapes and, the crime that's going on.
Yeah.
Cool. Right?
I still wouldn't think so.
No, this is my thing on it, because I don't know what you're trying to say, I'm trying to stifle them, whatever, right?
I think the bias, the overwhelming amount of content that is violence-oriented and being rotated, not just played,
I understand what you're saying.
Endorsed. I think it's overwhelming.
Yeah, I think they need to tailor it.
Yeah.
And I think people need, because you remember when you said you used to have a music mafia here? I don't think there's a mafia anymore, right? I honestly, there is no mafia anymore. What we have now is DJs who plays their friends' music and plays. That's what it is now. Is before it had a mafia.
I think there's an off-camera topic.
But I think when it had the mafia, I think we had more control, because the mafia was basically one person, right? And
Right.
I think we had more control of what would have come out then. And that one person, I think, looking at it now, I think they might have been a bit more diverse than the people who pulling the strings now.
But the question is, are they doing anything to stop it? And they have the power to, because they're still very much active.
Well, honestly, I'm gonna be real honest. I do listen to radio at all, you know.
Me either.
Right? But you know,
unless I'm forced to, like if I'm on
right,
public transportation. Yeah.
Which leads me to this though, and I said this, two things. Back when we used to listen to music, and it had bad man music, it had issues then, because when our bounty session started, bottle used to pelt.
Right.
Back then, right? So it was a problem then too.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't have guns. They didn't have as much guns.
It wasn't easily accessible.
Right?
Yeah.
And back then, for the people who know about bad man life, the Dan in the area might have a gun.
Yeah.
And you can't come by the Dan and tell him, man, I'm hiding here to clout or bury gun.
Yeah.
He will
run you from by place.
You understand what I'm saying? Go from you are him, sir.
Yeah.
All if it's sit out and do that, but you can't get my gun for that.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? Right? Also, as I said, the music was more diverse, the artists were more diverse, so you had Bounty Killer singing Bad Man Kill for Fun, but you also had Bounty Killer saying Man from Rima, Man from Jungle, War is not a nice something.
Yeah.
Before them see God, them see the devil.
Yep.
You had people like Merciless singing Go Go Wine. You had, you understand, a wide range of music. And those people, anytime they're interviewed, they also denounce violence.
Yep.
Right? Anytime they're in a public scenario, they would say, hey, nah, violence is not a good thing. It's just music. The next thing is, they would sing that type of music, which they will all culminate at Sting at the end of the year to use the music to clash, which is like a sport.
Yeah, it's entertainment.
It's entertainment, right?
Yeah.
So they use that to clash.
Yeah.
We're not doing that here. You understand what I'm saying? So then what's the purpose of it? Also, my last point I will make with this is like, right now, the social fabric of this country is damaged.
Yeah.
It's
drastically.
Yeah, it's drastically damaged. And it comes like a car. You have a new car, which is like back in the day.
Yeah.
You could drive that car faster in its new condition than you could do it damaged, as our social fabric is damaged.
Yeah.
If you try to do the same thing with that car as you could have done before it was damaged,
it'll increase the wear and tear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if you do it, you will probably die. Your car will crash.
Yep.
Just like what is happening now. Our society is crashing because the social fabric is no longer good to hold
everything
together.
Yeah.
And I think that is what we need people to understand. It comes down to that. It comes down to the social fabric being able to sustain what you're putting out.
Yep.
And what you're putting out, if we can't sustain it and it's making it worse, we need to stop it.
I recently posted something to social media. It was a rhetorical question, right? But the question was, if music doesn't influence people, then why are we still singing the alphabet?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'd have anything more to say when it comes to the fact that we have to hold ourselves accountable for what we put out into the world.
I want to put
as
that
producers, as DJs, as program directors, as radio stations, as we have to be careful.
I want to even challenge your point there, you know. You say the alphabet, right?
Sing, yeah.
Right? Why are they singing the alphabet?
Mm-hmm.
People will tell you, well, the music shouldn't be able to influence you so easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then those same people will tell you, boy, soca music have a way, boy, it's infectious, boy. You just have to move in your head. You understand what I'm saying?
You know what I would say to them? When you're looking at a movie with the subtitles on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a piece of soundtrack in the back of a scene with no dialogue, and it does describe the mood that the music programmed and produced to convey.
Mm-hmm.
Beethoven, Bach, Handel, I can't remember too many of the back in the day classical producers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They used to bring people to tears and make people feel happy and all of that without a single word on their compositions. So to tell me that music shouldn't be able to influence people is absolute bullshit. Water amplifies sound. Our bodies is what, 76% water?
76, 75, something like that.
Right. So, to say that music, to say that sound is powerless against water is asinine. Absolutely asinine. It's a ridiculous thing to think, because sound carries vibration. These different frequencies carry different energy. They carry different vibrations. They carry different moods.
I think
right?
I think people I think people didn't know that. I mean, I knew that, but it was something that was dormant in my mind, and I thank you for coming and reminding me of that today, because if you talk to certain producers, and I've heard things on YouTube, they say people will put in certain synths or certain I think something in treble that make people feel happy.
Yeah.
Certain tones or whatever that make people feel happy.
Right.
So, actually, and as I say, making these songs dark, like you remember somebody
chord progressions.
Yeah.
Have a lot, not a lot, everything to do with it.
I forget a lot of these. It had some dark rhythms. You remember the rhythm with that Patinsky was on?
Yeah.
And had Pain and Sorrow on the rhythm too.
Yeah, yes.
And Patinsky made a point. He said, nothing in his song is violent.
Right.
But if you just listen to the song, you just feel like it's violent.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Case in point, Red Bull and Guinness Rhythm. Right? And this led to the whole thing in the media with Norris Man and such. Big up Norris Man, my personal friend. Anyway.
See how you know it's good?
Yeah.
Okay. You had to do overplayed for me.
Right?
Yeah.
But he was telling me a day, he said, I never sing anything violent in my song, right? It had the Movado, with them I do, with them I try. The other songs on the rhythm that was violent as well, right? Vegas, me no friend from them. But Norris Man said, big long gun go over them yard, kill Uncle Joe, something, the dog, them I got to youths, them move too hard. That's what he said.
Okay.
Meaning that, that's wrong. You understand? But everybody perceived his song as
a bad man song.
Right?
Yeah.
Dude said, live and love your life. What part of that have anything to do with being a gunman?
Live and love your life.
Yes.
Yeah. See,
Even though in the beginning he said, don't try to be a hero and end up zero. That's what he meant. Don't go out there and tell yourself you have a gun and you're invincible and use the biggest tanto out there with a weapon, and then you just end up in a grave, you end up another statistic. Right? But because the music programmed in a way, because the music was programmed in a way to portray that dark and negative energy, people were already supercharged with that. He could have sung anything on it, and they would have just been, hey, gun fingers up in the air. You understand? And this is back to what I was saying about the music changing, the music itself changing, right? And evoking a particular strain of lyrics, a particular topic, a particular direction when it comes to lyrics and storytelling or conversations with music, right? And unless we start having different conversations, we will not ask ourselves the right questions. You understand? The music itself is what makes you think. It cultures a nation. It does. In the time period of, let's say, 1993, come up, right? Reggae music from Jamaica was rampant in Trinidad and Tobago. When Sizzla, Boston, wherever it was, right? Everybody wanted to Rasta. Everybody wanted to twist their hair. Everybody wanted to be Jah Rastafari. Everybody wanted turban. Well, not everybody.
And I mean, I think when Sizzla came, or I think that's when Trinidad started to take conscious music real serious.
Yes.
Conscious was always around.
Exactly.
But when Sizzla came,
he was DJing in a way that youths could relate to. It wasn't just the old soulful crooning that the lovers rock and the roots rock reggae had. You understand? That our parents would have loved. He was bringing that positive message. Like I told somebody, you listen to any Sizzla, you understand just how versatile he is with his lyrics, right? Do some good. You rise, it's literally like you having a conversation with somebody. You rise this morning, give thanks for life. A new day for you to try, but nothing you're doing is contributing to life. You skylark while the day pass you by. Soon you're complaining, things not right, how could it be? Nothing you apply. You've been playing on your mind, or me or mine. All play and no work makes Jack a dull boy. Rivers run dry on your knees, the day ascended, nothing you have achieved. Walk come cry, I must then believe there's a second chance in the sky. Oh, please, do some good today. But it's delivered in a way that youths could say, yeah, bro, I could listen to this. You understand what I'm saying? So people were more even though the music was like of a nature that our parents might have said, what garbage is that?
Yeah.
You understand? Because of the fact that his lyrics were delivered at a fast pace in a lot of instances, not all, but a lot, right? The youths could still relate it because we were already introduced to Bounty Killer, Capleton, this one, that one, the other dancehall influences that we were listening to. And he came with a positive message, and some of them came with a positive message. People like Terry Ganzi. People like Determined. People like Anthony B.
Norris too. Norris
heavy scriptures in heavy scriptures in these people's music. And this is what was sweeping and affecting and infecting the nation. And it wasn't a negative infection, it was positive energy. You understand? Regardless of who might have had whatever alternative lifestyle and doing this, that, and the other. Their message was out there. And it was well received, and it was highly accepted, and it was powerful. I remember back in the day, you go to one of them reggae concerts, and anybody trying to fight and what, is everybody going to surround you and like, hey, not in here.
Yeah.
Now, all people has to do is part and take out the phone and wait to see the aftermath. You understand? It's different. It's a whole different culture right now. You understand? We have a lot of bystander type culture rather than being active in the preservation of peace.
I think now a lot of people are more selfish and getting to record that and post it on social media for likes and comments is more gratifying to them, let's be real.
And also selfish in the way nobody is even considering the chance of martyrdom. Because you don't know who's trapped.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't know who friends trapped. You don't know who associated with who. And you intervening might just lead to you being a statistic.
Exactly.
So, you know what? I see everything.
No, which leads me to this this side of the conversation. As you were now talking about the reggae then.
Right.
And then that reggae, let's be real and let's be fair, that reggae was slowly pushed out by the local reggae. Because once the local reggae picked up, which is weird, Trinidadians have this way, it's always an either or mentality.
Right.
They do,
that is again the responsibility of radio presenters.
Right. Well,
I am glad,
program directors, let's say.
Well, yeah. I am glad that local music was endorsed the way it was. Local reggae music was endorsed the way it was. I am glad that it was well received the way it was. I will still say there are people who were, squeezed out such and such, and everybody would have played favoritism vibes and, such and such. It happens in any industry with any genre, even in gospel.
Right.
But nonetheless, the music itself was historical.
Yeah, it was. And if it's one thing, you can safely say that music was not disposable. Whereas there are some Vibes Cartel songs you can't play now. It's insignificant.
Like 2010.
Right?
I always tell people about that song. Like, to me, that had to be one of Adidja's most pointless recordings ever. Like, dude, we're in 2021 now. Yeah. No one is going to play that beyond 2010. But even as far as 2011.
No, but I mean, to be fair, that's how they do music. They just... It's like a mill. They just put out, what catch, and what continue to play. And they operate because their major concern is bookings.
Yep.
Their concern is not really career.
The better your chances.
Right. Yeah. So they're just on a performance career rather than a holistic career and building a proper repertoire of music.
Right.
Right? But those songs, up to today, you could still play these songs on radio. And I mean, some of them significantly big.
Yeah.
Of the islands. Yeah. Some of them went international, of course, some are national and some of them. How do you feel being a significant part? Because I mean, I don't know, I can't get the exactly what went on back then.
Right.
But I could tell you when it came out, all I knew about, or the people who I thought was responsible for that, was Studio 53. Right. Hey, Angelo! You understand what I say? Right. And to be have Angelo here. So talk to me, how...
It was kind of like an out-of-body experience. It was surreal. And that, alright, the first song that we released actually wasn't Don't You Know. A lot of people don't know that. The first song we released was actually from an artist that we worked with at the time that went by the name of Cutty, now known as Curtis Mark. Same guy who lived like 3 houses away from the studio I told you about. And the name of the song was Let's Just. It was actually soca, right? A groovy soca song. That song went on to be the most requested song on 94.1 for Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay.
I think it was 2006. Most requested song, right? Funny enough, plenty of people still don't know his name, but nonetheless, it was just one of those songs that was really appropriate for the time when it was released. And that was October 2005, right?
Yeah.
Shortly after that, we released Don't You Know. That took a little more time to pick up because Marlon Asha Ganja Planter had some spotlight.
Right.
Mr. King, Olav Until picked up after Ganja Planter, even though Jam Melody Be Prepared was playing before both of them, right? And then, boom, we got that spotlight, that moment, Don't You Know, from my Sasha. Thanks to Kevin Baker taking the initiative and endorsing the song because, boy, they grew up together, such and such. He knew him from back then, and he was confident enough in the content and in the groundwork that we did as well as Studio 53. We did some shit. We did some shit now, though. We used to compile CDs with our work and beat the streets.
Right.
Give to this one, give to that one, taxi drivers, the other such and such. We spent a buttload of money on CDs and we did covers for it so that, you could see track listing, who sang what, such and such, and it has the logo on the front. And we really put that effort into putting ourselves out there before we even got out there. It was a lot of groundwork on behalf of myself, Quasi Robinson, and Sharon Charles. It was a lot of groundwork from our friends and our inner circle at the time because they were the ones there sitting down cutting up paper to stick into these CD sleeves, and you know what I'm saying? It was just a whole lot of heart and passion and dedication that led to the culmination of things, and the culmination was just the beginning. If you understand.
Right. And I mean, so we went into it, things were going good, and then I mean, they have many different stories as to why it fell. Some people will say people are undercutting people with prices. Some people will say people are squeezing out people. Some people said that people like, I mean, it's alleged, as I say, this what people say, I don't know how true it is. They say people like Fresh and them, or some of the people that kept it going, they would have intimidated certain radio presenters to make sure they play certain songs and play certain artists. And once they were gone, those radio DJs and radio presenters didn't feel
as pressured
anymore. So as a result, they just dropped the music and stop playing it.
I'll say this much: when you don't have a unity, dissension is inevitable, right? Without having a structure to things, without having a vision for what you want things to be, and without everyone adhering to it, then it's easy to pick something apart. And
but I agree, but I think it has to be something else, because in anything you will have that problem,
Yeah.
Because that's part of the teething process. But why is it still fell apart? If you understand what I'm saying,
right?
It must go through some degree of negativity, and as with anything, as they say, any diamond had to go through a certain amount of pressure for it to become, you know, the precious stone that it might be.
Yeah.
So why is it didn't end up becoming the precious stone that it should be or could have been?
Right. Now, I'll say this confidently: no unity. Right. That and no organization. And by organization, I mean the administrative side of things.
Right.
Right? Because Omari Ashby, right? I don't know if you know him.
Heard him already.
He was one of the duo from back in the day with the Kiss Kitty Caravan.
Right. You're right. Yes. Okay.
Omari Ashby.
I know exactly who it is now.
Right. Omari Ashby, aka Saga Boy. Right. Gave me one of the most potent pieces of career advice ever. Right? Or actually say two of the most potent pieces of career advice ever. And those two pieces of advice was, one, don't ever put your name on a document without reading it first. anything that you're going to sign your name on and agree to, make sure that you understand what is it you're agreeing to. First piece of advice. The second piece of advice he gave me was that the music business is 95% business and 5% music. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, we were all caught up and consumed with the 5%.
I could agree and I could understand with, well, I'm not to say I can agree, but I could understand what you're talking about and why I would say I could agree, not from your perspective, but the perspective I had. I managed 2 artists in my career in entertainment and helped a lot.
Right.
And I kept trying to impact and impress upon them that listen, to focus on the stuff in the background.
Right.
But everybody was just looking for that tune now go boss.
Yeah, the hype.
Everybody was running on airplay.
The problem is that people have raw and natural talent, but they don't have the understanding of the business. They don't have the administrative knowledge, right? And because what they're passionate about is creating and performing and having their creativity received, right? And respected, it was not easy to expect them to do like I might have done and learn entertainment law jargon to an extent and be able to read and write contracts even though I never went to law school, right? You know, it may not be totally ironclad, but you can't put a document in front of me just like that and I read through it and not have an understanding of what is it I'm reading. Matter of fact, I got a management contract from a label in the US and I called them after reading it and I asked who wrote it, and they told me and I said, this man owes you money. And I went into my email, downloaded some stuff I had there that I paid an entertainment lawyer to do, edited it to suit the terms and conditions that we were discussing before we got to black and white, sent it back to them, they read it, had a lawyer proof it, sign and send it back to me for me to sign it, right? Because I sat on different sides, so many different sides of the fence, because I mean it's not just a straight fence, right? Because I sat on so many different sides of it, I was forced to arm myself with information and knowledge about different things. You can't just run into something ignorantly, you know? And I think a lot of artists were unable to separate their passion for their creativity and focus on the business side of things. So they in turn took on people that came to them and claimed to be managers.
Right.
Emphasis on claimed to be managers, right? Because there weren't any in the reggae fraternity. There were none. And I'll say that openly because they were all booking agents.
Yeah. I mean,
calling themselves managers, and that's a big difference.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think
they may have been road managers, but not actual managers. There was no contract between anyone apart from that. So that in itself made things even easier to just fall into nothingness because, all right, all the airplay, all the international airplay, right? Because believe me, songs like Million Voice, One Family was charting in Netherlands, right? Songs like the same song I mentioned before, the Cutty, was charting in Canada, right? I Sasha was charting in Canada as well, in different places, Amsterdam, such and such. And at the end of the day, when you go to try to find these people, sometimes you get in touch with somebody that decides, you know what, I want this opportunity for my artist that I do in bookings and saying I'm managing. So I'm going to say, I don't know the person they're trying to find. Right. And I'm going to push my artist on them.
Right. I heard a lot about that.
Right. Even cases where they might have had promoters calling to get several people and you liming and smoking with this man every day and would still turn around and say, nah, I don't have his number, you know. Think, but what going on? Well, talk to my manager now. And you try to take the booking yourself.
Right.
Or they tell you, well, look, we already booked this person for this price, and you try to sell yourself for less.
For less, right? I heard of those things too.
Right, and like I said, no unity, so it has dissension. It's easy to pick it apart. Right. You understand? When people continuously undervalue themselves, you never get respected. right? A lot of people had a problem with Jam Melody's manager charging $2,000 for a performance, but outside of Trinidad and Tobago in the US, that's standard. 2,000 is like minimal, right?
Yeah.
I remember when Pressure came here to perform in the Zen with one song, one music video trending. He got paid $6,000 if I'm not mistaken. You understand? One song. And they had to still put him in hotel and accommodate him with food, this, that, the other. Right? Airfare, such and such. But our local artists were undercut because why? They were just focused on the fact that it's local.
And
they treat them like shadow any. I could walk outside and pick any one of that.
Well, I mean, but also I think one of these problems we have with a lot of artists is they don't know how to embrace that star, that superstar life, or that superstar, because you need that, and that is what kind of separates you and make you and give you the ability to charge. And I was saying that in a previous video. People say Swanee not too talented. I don't know, that's debatable. I find he's talented. I like his music.
Right.
Not necessarily content, but I like his flow, I should say. Right. I like how he flows. But he has a lot of superstar value. Right? Interviews, poor. Right? He did the interview on stage and I was like, Jesus Christ. And in my video, I said, hey, listen, if you want to teach you how to talk on interviews, I have no problem with that. Right? Because clearly nobody in that camp could teach him or try to teach him. But anyhow, but he for some unknown reason, seemed to understand that star life now, which this put you in a position that people can't think, well, he's one of we had to sing. He had a past show. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that is one of the issues. It come like Marshall.
I would say it's a matter of association. Right? See, back in the day with the reggae artists, as you mentioned, right? There were certain people who were community leaders, quote, end quote, and they were endorsing certain artists and, yes, intimidating DJs into playing and rotating, not just playing, but rotating and endorsing these people's music. And it wasn't across the board. You know, it was the few who would have gone to them and tell them, boy, thing, and listen to this, I do this song the other day, and rah, rah, rah. And so they're not playing it on the radio, I'm going to call so. You understand? It wasn't even like look, we're doing this as part of what's structured, you know? It was just, I'm friends with this person is going to use their influence to get me in a position of influence. That's basically what it was. It wasn't like a mafia. It was, you understand? So, again, it had no structure, it had no organization, so it was easy to pick apart. And when you think about that factor, right? These people were behind the scenes, right? Now, as for some of these Trinidad artists, they are openly claiming allegiance to different gangs and gang members, right? Which automatically puts you in a class of unapproachability, bro. like seriously.
And
seriously.
True. So it wouldn't play mad. It wouldn't tell a man to come and sing on any night done now, but we make no money. Hard luck day. You ain't gonna do them that because
it come like you see one of your friends as a Buckingham Palace guard. You know the order with them. So much as that is your friend and you all grow up together playing ball and picking plum and thieving mango, you might just hit him a salute and look out for the little acknowledgement from you might get a wink. You understand? And you good with that, you would take little pictures, you might still spin and take a selfie with him, you might stand still for you to take the selfie, and then you go on about your business. You understand? Because it has a particular prestige with who he is associated with. You understand? With the position he put himself in as a palace guard, i.e. these artists align themselves with people, you understand? And repping these gangs, and this is what is going on, you understand? Because the violence outside of the music is real, right? The artists that endorse these different people who perpetuate this violence basically put themselves in a category of guilt by association, but protection by association as well.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You understand? So it gives them a level of risk as well as it gives them a level of security. so to speak.
Well, I guess it also gives them a level of financial security as well. When I say when I say financial security, I'm say quote unquote.
They mean like support.
Appearance and support.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So, you can now do videos.
Yeah.
You can now dress a particular way.
Yeah.
Whether you had to borrow the money.
But I'll tell you something though. A lot of them, right? Because there are people of influence and people who are impressionable in their circle. They get things done for free.
Right.
It's the same way it was back in my time. How we had our small little inner circle that was helping us do certain things and, making certain moves and doing a lot of the groundwork and the grunt work with us. You understand? When people truly support you, you can't pay for that.
Right.
You understand? You can't pay for that. People would just do things for you because they believe in you, and that's something you can't pay for. That's love. Regardless of the fact that you preach and hate in your music, that's still love from the people that are around you. You understand? And it's something that's it's inexpendable. You understand? And you find, okay, because they might sing songs that endorse certain characters in the scheme of the criminal underworld in their area, right? And they endorse their area, right? These criminals will say, well, just like you said, the guy told you in the party, anybody violate.
Yeah, we have it.
I strapped.
Yeah.
The other guy told you the same thing. They treat these artists the same way, acting almost like personal security. And if they tell themselves, well, you're going into a music video, I have a chain that the boss might give me, but poor now, you gotta look like you're up there, you gotta look like you're having, you gotta look like you're rich, because it's all about impressions. You understand? The same way that they were given the impression that gangster life is a glorious one, they have to project that image through the music as well. You understand? And it is one of the reasons why, like you said, certain artists will possess a star quality, is because they understand, right, that within that scope of things, when they're not singing about violence, it can have nothing like humility. Because you want to perpetuate this lifestyle as a glorious one,
right?
As one that's full of hype, as a juicy lifestyle. You understand? You don't want people to think that I shooting people and I struggling. Like Chronic say, if I was you, I'd sell my gun, you could bad and hungry. You understand? So it's down to that concept where we do everything big. You understand? We do everything big. We have the biggest guns, we have the most expensive alcohol, best jewelry, best girls.
Which is what's causing the problem in society today.
Exactly.
Because just imagine.
The concept of hard work is no longer a factor.
No, but just imagine this, right? No, I think the concept of hard work is what making the youth go down that road. Because just imagine, mommy and daddy going to work, or mommy alone, or whatever the case may be. Parents going to work, coming home frustrated, boss treating them bad, they can't get time off, Right. They could barely pay the bills. But then you watch on YouTube and you see Swanee in a massive house. That's probably not his, right? Not taking anything from Swanee, but just saying, for the videos or whatever.
And TV Cribs, they put a lot of artists in homes that weren't theirs and staged the whole shit.
Oh, serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I have a whole documentary on it about YouTube. Check it out when I get a chance.
Cool. I would definitely look at that. But so you rock back and you're watching on YouTube and you see Swanee, big nice dog, big gold chain, pens and whatever. And you see he do work and he sing about thing and he push how much on the block and we whatever.
Chase that same.
So now
ghost.
How you could tell me to go and work 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or 8 to 5?
So whether they have talent or they don't, they all chasing the same ghost. Yeah. And the thing is, there are ways to make money without hard work and illegal activity, but are we being made financially intelligent when we go to school? No. We are being groomed to work for the ones who are financially intelligent.
Hey, listen, you have to remember, sir, that the Prime Minister said that he doesn't see any issue with the disparity between the rich and the poor, right? And the rich had to get richer so they could employ the poor and create opportunities for the poor, right?
We gotta slap down those people.
Right?
Excuse me for putting it that way, but in my opinion, that's absolute bullshit.
But remember the statement?
No.
Seriously, don't.
To be perfectly honest, I don't news, I don't radio, I don't, unless I'm in a position where I'm forced, because I'm in public transportation.
Serious?
I do not entertain local media. I don't read newspapers. I have unplugged myself almost over a decade now.
Serious?
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
Things would pop up on social media. I'd hear things in a taxi or a maxi or such, but I do not ascribe. As somebody who is in the entertainment field, I try to keep myself out of that.
It was something that I heard, and trust me, I got really upset when I heard it.
That's absolute garbage, though.
Cliche. I'm not really trying to interfere with the bridge between the rich and the poor, because there's nothing wrong with the rich getting richer, but the poor must come out of poverty. Right? So
well, that's kind of bridging the gap, you know.
That is the equation. It's not a seesaw where one has to go down for the other one to come up. You have to find a way that you encourage the rich to get richer.
A younger Castro might have probably put a bullet in his head.
For the poor, opportunity, and of course, if one wants.
A younger Fidel Castro might have put a bullet in his head for saying that. I'm not saying that the Prime Minister deserves to die for what he said, but what I'm saying is that because of Fidel Castro's socialist view, not capitalist view, because that is the epitome of capitalism.
Capitalism, yeah.
Right? Because of Fidel Castro's socialist view, they could not be allies.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? It had no way they could have been allies. You understand? So, I got my migraine. Oh, shit.
As I've said...
We don't have enough time for me to express myself based on that. No.
Right?
The last thing I am is conformist.
Same thing with me. Same thing with me.
Sadly, we live in the conformist Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. This is not democracy. This is conformism.
Mm-hmm.
They go on TV and they make statements and people just swallow that bullshit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You understand? Like it's Callaloo. Going down smooth and quick and slimy.
Mm.
You understand? And the problem is that we as a people, we view the incumbent as Trinidad and Tobago. We don't view ourselves as Trinidad and Tobago. Whoever is in power, to us, is Trinidad and Tobago. So we have no patriotism. You understand?
But I've always said that the reason this country is the way it is because a lack of patriotism.
And it's because we don't view us as Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, we're Trinis. What is that Trini? Down to God is that Trini, according to us, right? But we are not Trinidad and Tobago. The government is Trinidad and Tobago. That is the perspective that a lot of people have when it comes to how they view this country. So it's a constant love-hate relationship rather than hating the corruption and the bullshit that's there, spewing out of the people that are put in power by us. You understand? We don't have that sense of responsibility. We have a sense of delegation because we are made to believe that we don't know better. When we are the ones who get affected by the worst. Yeah. You understand?
Politicians speak to us or speak down to us.
Yes, they do. They talk down to us a lot. A whole lot. And as somebody who is capable of articulating, is one of the things that disgusts me the most. Like, seeing and hearing some of these statements, like that one just now, that was wow. You have no problem at the bridge between the rich and the poor, then you are the problem. That mindset, at least, is the problem.
And strange enough, this came out not too long after the seizure and the bacchanal with DSS. So
that's our next headache by itself. Human trafficking is a matter of national security, not susu.
Listen.
Admins who were starting these groups and deliberately crashing them and taking people's money and going with it. Police pursued no one. No one.
Even though a lot of these people went to the fraud squad and went to the police.
Exactly. And gave information and made reports.
On these people.
Yes.
Nobody went to the police.
There was no tactical exercise and no raids on these
none of these
admins'
people.
home. None. You know what? Alexander said on an episode of Beyond the Tape, don't call the police when these people go with your money.
But he's right.
So then why involve yourself in one that's successful?
Right, yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
When nobody is coming to you all and reporting this, why involve yourself?
Because, and my stance on this is, if I give my money to a person, not a business, because once the person is incorporated, he has to follow the laws of Trinidad and Tobago incorporation laws, right?
Right.
So if I give my money to a person, and the person decides to dock me my money or whatever, that is now a civil issue. That means I have to find a lawyer and go to court and sue this person. That is what that means.
Right.
Right? How they get involved beats the shit out of me. I don't understand it.
No, I'll tell you this much. One, DSS is incorporated, right?
Well, is DSS incorporated? No. Because
no, it was all the time.
Because no, is DSS incorporated or the money lending business? Because I've heard him say on radio. No,
Yes,
I don't know.
He has a money lending business.
Right. But that's what I say, is it that the money lending business is incorporated? Because I heard him say on radio that DSS is not a business. It's a what's the term he used by is a program. Right? And that is why he is saying is a program, and he's not the owner. He's the, I forget the term he used, but like name like the chairman. He's just like the person who leading the program. Right. So I thought when he said that is because he, for legal purposes, is why he had it like that. So I don't know.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't pretend to know all of the administrative facts.
Right.
But from what I've been made to understand, when you give your money to them, they give you a receipt.
Right.
That is labeled with the DSS such and such.
Right.
So for me to think I have branded labels, branded receipts, right? A book of them, more or less, branded receipts. And a number, contact number, such and such, address for the business.
Well, as I say, he says not business. He says a program. Right. So, and I think the receipt. That's not. How long we have on this here? That's not. One second.
Right. Sure.
Right, pause. So, we just go for a receipt. Alright, receipt from the sum of Susuhan takes 1 to 21 days. Right, 20,000 will be automatically deducted from your blessing. A stack methods used. Please allow 72 hours. Printed by. Yeah,
Excuse me.
Yeah.
1 second. Marvin. What's up? Can't even remember what I was trying to call you for. Oh, was for you to send toxic to my phone. Was for you to send toxic to my phone. Toxic. Gosh, the thing I sent you the other night. I'll message you. Yeah. Alright. Yeah.
Alright, so, normally when a business is registered by the logo, they would have the R in the
Registration
circle
number.
and all. Nah, I don't have none of them things with it. So,
Right.
I don't know. But,
Wow.
no fun.
So, no, that more or less means that the receipt is just for a matter of tracking who's involved, not necessarily a matter of the
bookkeeping or
exactly everything being, how to say, a registered business.
Yeah.
That is actually eye-opening.
which makes it even worse to the police because I I was talking to a lady, and so unfortunately, she kind of didn't want to get too involved in the recording aspect of things. But so we just had a conversation over the phone. A foreign lady who did her studies in law and whatnot, and apparently reached however far in law, right? And she was saying that Trinidadians or the people who involved should, what they're supposed to do is come together and have a class action lawsuit against the state.
The state, yes.
Yeah. Right? For getting involved in business of two people.
Personal affairs. It's not even business if, like you said, it's not business.
But personal affairs of two consenting adults.
Right.
But I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Well, as the same way it have corruption in the court system that may have led to the death of Angelo, right? It's the same way where apparently when he was supposed to go to court last week for the hearing, because all the court hearings were normally in Arima. When they went to Arima court last week, Wednesday or Thursday, apparently they told him, no, the court hearing is in Port of Spain. He's like, it's in Port of Spain? How? And so they were like, okay, and they tried to get the information, and by the time they got the information, the court hearing was heard.
Time had passed.
It was heard without them, and they decided to keep the money again, apparently.
Wow.
For a further 3 months, even though the people who they brought to investigate everything
found no illegal...
Right? And they have left the country.
Say it correctly. Who they paid 15 million to have here. Yeah.
Right? So they came, they investigated, found nothing, and they have left the country. So, I don't know. No, I've been honest with you, bro. And, I mean... Going through this, I personally, I realized how much of a pushover people in this country are.
The conformist republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
And you know, it ties us back to the whole topic of everything we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I wanted to post this on social media, but I know people would have gotten upset because people are very emotional, right? With this Andrea Barra thing.
Yeah.
Right? When this was going on with DSS, contrary to how you feel or anybody feel about DSS, right? It was a degree of injustice.
Yeah.
If people put their money there and they lose it, that is up to them.
Exactly.
Right?
No, but they had no problem when people were losing.
Exactly. I agree. But I just saying because people say, oh, they put their money there, or they lost it, or they shop it. Nevertheless, right? If that is how you felt, that is small thing. But it was a matter of injustice.
Right.
Right? And as the saying goes, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice
everywhere.
Yeah. And I've been trying to tell people that if you like that or not, whether or not it was injustice, what they did, how they handled it was poor.
Yeah.
And as a result of something like that, you see it trickle off with plenty other things in the society that people don't stand up for.
Yep.
So
again, we don't see us as Trinidad and Tobago. We see ourselves as powerless people with an index finger. You understand?
But do you
That's
vote?
what we see. No.
Neither me.
I made the mistake and do it once.
Okay. I have never done it. And I will never do it.
People say that if you don't, then you can't and shouldn't complain. And I think that's absolute bullshit because I live here still.
No. Okay, just now. Let me put this in a more perspective. If I do... And you win the election, the person win the election, the person I vote for wins the election, and you do something I disagree with, can I slap you?
Exactly.
No, I can't. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You do something I disagree with.
Yeah.
Are we going to have a conversation? Are you going to try and fix it?
Yeah.
If I could come up with a very reasonable and justifiable reason for why I do, for why or how this is affecting me.
With, your decision.
Are you going to change it? No, you're not.
No.
So then I'm not voting.
Exactly. And that's the thing. We have one opportunity to choose. Right? Like I told somebody at once, this may be a bit PG, but politics is like prison rape. You understand? And basically you choose who's going to screw you for the next 5 years.
Exactly.
You understand? And the messed up part about it is that our parents and their parents had this system so ingrained in them that they taught us to think in the perspective of let the person who sweet talk you the most rape you. You understand what I'm saying? when it's election time, these people, let's be like these maxi conductors around teenage girls. The sweetest words.
Mm-hmm.
The sweetest words. All kind of thing they go tell you, yeah, you get this, yeah, girl, you get that. Thing. Nah, I go treat you nice. Such and such. I go take care of you. So nice. You deserve this and that and the other. And the minute you do so, then it turns to what?
I want to put this out to people who vote, right? And we are wrap up because we are not a charge, right? And I mean, this, I must say, a real interesting podcast.
Right.
You know, a lot of topics covered. Ladies, if a man is only check you when you do have a period, when you have a period, he's not coming around at all. You don't want to talk, you don't want a friend. But when you don't have a period, he buy you. Do you think that's a good man to be with? Right? Fellas.
Not a good perspective.
If a girl is only vibes you month in when you get paid.
Or fortnight.
But you don't see at all.
Yeah.
Right? You just said the month. You will be with that girl. With that, right? It's the same thing. 5 years we don't see all you at all.
Yeah.
Coming up to elections, you're
All
most,
of a sudden, you're most present, you're most concerned,
Right?
you're most welcoming.
But then
All of a sudden, you
I
want to hear
can't
about
see
our
I
issues.
can't see at all again, boy. You understand what I'm saying?
That is a testament to the reactive policy of Parliament, not proactive. They are proactive to the concerns of the 1% and themselves. That's what they are proactive about. So things that are affecting them and how they want to spend that $300 million US dollars over, sorry, 300 billion US dollars over the 5-year period, that's what they are proactive towards. Things that are affecting us, they are reactive towards. The minute we revolt and the media takes up our cause and starts giving it too much of light and things start to get too negative, then they do damage control.
Well, no.
They sprinkle a little crumbs
No,
or splash a little water on the situation.
But they're not doing that again. You know what they're doing now? Wait now. So CNC3, all they're doing that, we will stop advertising by all year. TV6, that's all. We will stop advertising by all
Bullying the
year.
media houses.
Right.
But they could only do it so much because, look, social media.
Well, and that is where...
And this is where the power of the people is coming from as well. You understand? The ability to bring a government's ears to the people is coming from social media because the media houses are now being left powerless. You understand? But yet still, when the nonsense music is being played, the violence music and the rape culture music is being played, Telecommunications Board has nothing to say. Ministry of Social Development has nothing to say. Ministry of National Security have nothing to say. Ministry of Tourism and Culture has nothing to say. But all the stations that are urban and are allowed to play this garbage is allowed to stream over the internet. So when the world looks in at us, that's what they see. That's what they hear.
And then, of course...
And we are okay with projecting a violence and rape culture.
And then,
Yes.
of course, our news now supports it.
Yeah.
So our music says that, then the news supports it.
Exactly.
So, look like...
They don't care, like you said, they care about votes. They don't care about public image of this country. If they did, then they would have the Telecommunications Board make certain things literally veto.
But probably the reason for that is because we never had to really focus on... We never really had to focus on tourism. So we never had to focus on our image.
But why not? Can you tell me that a surplus in any economy is a bad thing?
I agree.
If we have diversified sources of income outside of oil for our country, for our country's economy, right? If we have diversified sources, for instance, our entertainment or sporting industry is properly developed to the extent where entertainers don't have to have a 9-to-5 to facilitate having a career, or athletes don't have to have a 9-to-5, or dancers, actors don't have to have a 9-to-5 to facilitate following their passion and their dream. If we can have that kind of sustainability within our arts and sports communities, right, that would bring revenue to our economy, how is that a bad thing?
Listen, as much as I agree and as much as I understand, I think this is a deeper conversation because I think that it goes back to Eric Williams' time. And
it also reflects in his statement with he's okay with the bridge.
Right?
because that would definitely break that bridge.
Right.
There is billions of dollars in music and sport, and the people that tend to be more focused and naturally talented in these avenues are not the rich.
Listen, I am gonna give my listeners some homework. Go and check and see what is Barbados GDP, right? Check Trinidad and Barbados. Barbados has an international race course
Right.
where people like Lewis Hamilton, which you know is the biggest race car driver in the world,
Right.
has been there to drive.
Right.
I forget the big monster driver, one of them stunt drivers.
Right.
He has been there as well. Barbados is now a leg in one of the major regattas, one of them big $1 billion regattas with big sponsors.
Right.
And they do have anywhere close to the kind of money we have and that we have in our economy. But clearly, they have decided to do better for themselves.
When public figures go to any country, right, especially entertainers, singers, performers, when they visit any country to perform in concerts, someone from the political delegation meets them. Be it the culture minister, be it the prime minister themselves, be it president, whoever, right, meets this person. Now, different artists get into different countries and perform without going through that because of the audience that they appeal to.
Right.
Right? And fact of the matter is, if the government isn't comfortable with greeting that person, then why have them there in the first place?
I agree. So
if they can't agree to perform content that is socially
responsible
nourishing and responsible to the country, why have them there? It's the same way that we tend to have this careless attitude with regards to anything that isn't oil. Right? And it's the same way how people who are in that minority group, the 1%, right, can easily access millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars in government grants and funding to pursue their passion, while the poor people that have natural talent as well are stuck making videos with their camera phone.
We could dive into it, but we're on 1% on the camera here. So, because Film TT,
yes,
as I said, highfalutin people,
yes,
and they get government grants. So I tell you, but I want to cut off it all closing.
True.
Right? Which is I definitely we're gonna have you on again because
I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean,
this was fun.
Yeah, right? So thanks again for passing through. It's the Alternative Perspective podcast. Remember to leave a 5-star review on whichever platform you're listening to the podcast. Angelo, thanks again. See you again soon.
Yeah, man.